So Marion, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what your life was like before the war broke out.
I was born in Osthofen, Germany in 1929, and my family, my father owned two vineyards at least. Two vineyards. He made wine and bottled the wine. We sold the wine, and when it was harvest time, we used to hire people to help with the harvest.
Did you help in the vineyard?
No, we ate the grapes.
Uh-huh.
No, but we had a wine press in the bottom of our bedroom. At night I heard the people pressing the grapes. It went round and round and went click, click, click. But when it was 1938, the people who were Jewish, they did not allow the people to work for Jewish people anymore. So we had to sell the vineyard.
And after you sold the vineyard, then your father had to earn a living a different way.
Yes, then he opened a small shop with supplies for shoe repair. We sold heels and soles and nails and things to repair shoes. He sold that, you know.
And how long were you in that location, and
Well,
how long was he working?
we were there until we sold the house and the vineyards, and then we moved to the next city, which was Mannheim, and there we had to rent an apartment and shared with another family. We had one bathroom to share with the other family.
So then at some point, life must have started feeling different for you.
Well, in Mannheim we went for a walk, and we weren't supposed to go in the park. It says Jews not allowed, you know. It said.
There were signs.
Huh?
There were signs there.
Yeah. But my mother sometimes took us to the movies anyway. She said, how are they going to know you're Jewish? You know? How can they tell?
And what kind of work did your father do in Mannheim?
And nothing. He couldn't. He didn't know more. He had nothing anymore. He had to live on what he had saved.
And he had his money in a bank?
Well, when he sold the vineyards and the house, they didn't get very much for it. They sold it at a loss, you know.
Right.
It wasn't.
So you lived off of that money?
Yeah. And then we sent a lift to the United States because we were thinking of immigrating. So we bought motherboard furniture and sewing machine and linens and glasses.
So when you say a lift,
They called it a lift because they pack your belongings in a lift and they send it over on a ship.
It's like a large container.
Yeah.
And then they shipped it. And where did she ship it to?
They shipped it to we had an aunt in Harrisburg who had a house, and she had a home in her basement. She stored the furniture in her basement.
And where was that?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
But the furniture wasn't much left when we came over. Only some linens and dishes, you know.
Okay.
And I had a sewing machine. My mother thought she would do some sewing.
So your parents knew that they wanted to get to America?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they handed out quota numbers.
How did they do that?
Well, they gave you a number. It's called quota numbers.
Did you go to a
I don't know,
consulate or someplace to get these numbers?
I don't know who handed them out.
Uh-huh. Okay.
We had a very high number, which was not good.
What did that mean?
That means you can't, you cannot emigrate yet.
There's a lot of people that have to go
Ahead of
before
you.
it's your
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was 1938, just about 2 weeks after we moved. There was Kristallnacht. The SS, the German Gestapo, they came around in the apartment and looked for weapons. The apartment next door to us, I saw the furniture being thrown out of the windows next door. They threw all the furniture out. That's frightening.
So then what happened in 1940?
In 1940, they told people not to come to work the next day, any Jewish people, to stay home. So they came the next day with the SS people. They said you can take whatever you can carry with you, and you have to leave within an hour or two.
Did they tell you where you were going?
No. No.
What did they do, come knocking on the door?
Yeah. That's it. If you want to, you can take some bread with you, because we're going in a train. And overnight they put us up in a high school, in a big gym.
So let's go back to you're preparing to leave. And what are your parents doing and taking and...
Well, that was my mother took her best china, which broke naturally. I took my dress, took that dress.
That dress in the photograph.
Yeah.
Okay, that was very precious to you.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you remember what your brother took?
I don't know. I remember my mother sent my brother to buy some bread at the bake shop. And he says, do I have to go, So, I said,
Was he afraid?
no, he just said, why should I go with somebody else?
Okay.
I remember that when the train turned towards France and people were happy that we were not going to Poland.
And they were happy to get out of Germany?
Well, we didn't know where we were going, but we were happy not to be sent to Poland.
Why?
The Eastern.
Why were you
we
afraid
knew,
of Poland?
I guess we knew it was bad in Poland with the Jews and all that.
So the news had already traveled to you. You already knew what was going
They
on
knew
there.
there was.
Okay.
When we got to the camp, they separated the men from the women. They had a different camp.
What did the camp look like?
Just barracks.
With barbed wire or open?
No, I don't see it was barbed wire. We had barracks. They gave us straw to sleep on or something like that. I told my brother went to the next town and bought some peanuts. He got shelled peanuts and he brought it back. Nobody bothered him. He just walked into the next town and bought some food.
And brought it back to you?
Yeah.
So he could come from the boys' side to the girls' side?
Yeah.
So you were going to classes then?
Well, they organized some French lessons or some. We had one stove, I think, in the barracks. A stove, some sort of a stove. They heated up with coal.
How long were you in that camp?
I think about 10 months.
Why did they move you?
Well, it was not a very good place to stay with all the mud. That's my husband says, are you afraid of mud?
Not anymore.
I always had mud.
All right, so you moved after about 10 months.
Well, they sent us to another camp.
Did the whole family get back together again?
No, they always kept the men apart.
Okay. But you went essentially to the same location?
Yes, nearby.
Nearby.
This was Rivesalte, which is on the other side of the Pyrenees.
Okay. So you took another
So those
train.
were more substantial barracks. They were wooden. They had nails on the wall to hang up your clothes. And
Okay.
I think we got, I don't know, must have gotten some straw or something to put down.
And you had told me about food that was very scarce.
Yes,
And what your mother did.
I think they made a soup which had, not much in it. And they gave you a piece of bread which had to last for the day. And I think the children had a special place to where they fed the children.
Is that where you went foraging for vegetable peels?
No, first they gave us. It was in that camp, yeah.
Was in that camp?
Yeah. And the children, we got special food. I mean, we got a little more bread and so on. So we hid the piece of bread in the panties, bring it back to my mother.
Mm-hmm. She didn't have any food?
Well, she had also one piece of bread.
One piece, okay.
You know, and then they had all these pebbles in the on the floor, on the walks. They had pebbles and there were little pieces of wood.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept, we gathered those because my mother had took a can, an empty can, and we found the kitchen that had peels, and wasted peels. So we collected the peels and we cooked the peels in a can. My mother volunteered. They sent some people for the grape harvest. They needed people for the grape harvest.
Oh.
So my mother said, let's go volunteer for that. She says, and while you help, you can eat some grapes. I'll help you.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Came back to the camp.
Right. And how long were you there after that?
Then they let us go to Marseille because we were waiting for immigration papers. In Marseille there was an American consulate.
So when you say they let us go, who's the they?
Whoever took care of the camp, who was in charge of it.
Okay, but there were no Germans there?
No, there were no Germans, all of French.
And they were all French?
Yeah.
Okay, and so they allowed you and your mother?
Yeah, and some other people who needed to go to the American consulate, you know.
Somehow somebody must have known that you were there waiting for papers.
Yeah.
And when the papers came...
Well, they didn't come so soon. They came the day they deported us.
So they were too late?
It expired.
And they had expired?
3 weeks.
So how did your mother feel?
She was devastated.
So then they deported you?
Well, they took everybody away by bus, except the children under 16.
Oh, so they didn't deport you, they deported your mother.
My father and mother, yeah.
Did you know where your father was then?
He was in the camp outside of Marseille.
Oh, he was there too. So they put you in a bus and took the children.
Yeah, put us in a bus and brought us to the Chateau in France there.
That you have a picture of that we'll look at a little later. And did you leave your parents behind?
Yeah.
And did you have any idea where they were going?
Everybody says they're going to a labor camp.
Was there a lot of crying and hugging and saying goodbye?
They were put in a train, and I never heard from them again. Now, one letter she sent out, my mother, I think she threw it out the window and said, I lost it. I don't know what happened to it.
Do you remember what she told you?
Well, she said to my brother, take care of his sister.
Yes, yes.
That's all.
You said your brother was like billeted or sent to a farmer.
He worked with at the farm.
And who took him and took him to the farm?
I know it was, I guess, an organization also.
You don't know exactly.
They gave him a false papers, false name, and they gave him ration cards. I stayed with that French family, and they wanted to adopt a child.
So they wanted to adopt you?
Yeah, they would have liked somebody to stay with them because they lost their 2 sons in the First World War, and they blamed the Germans always because there wasn't enough medication. They died.
Who introduced you to that family and had you live there?
Jewish
The same organization?
Yeah.
So you were with a family and your brother was with a farmer?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you there?
But then they gave me false identity papers.
Yes. How long did you live there?
I was about a year and a half at least. I was about 13, 14 by then.
And you were there for a year and a half?
About, yeah.
And then when you left...
Until the end of the war, really.
Until the end of the war. So when you left, did you leave on good terms?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We kept writing. I sent her, she loved the tea, loose tea, and ivory soap.
Ah.
I used to send it to her.
Okay, so after the war is over.
We celebrated when it was 1945, I guess.
Yeah, 1945.
When the war ended. And she opened a bottle of champagne.
Ah.
It was ever I had champagne.
And then what happened to you?
I still stayed there for a while. And my brother says he wanted me to come to join him. You know, he says you don't stay here. You have a family in the U.S.
You and your brother together came to the United States?
Yeah. We had a group, and then we were in this Marseille first.
You were staying here?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how many people came to the United States altogether with you?
We were a group of 7 or 8 girls.
Okay. And your family in America knew that you were coming?
Yeah, they'd send us, I got postcards. They were looking for us. They sent postcards to the Red Cross.
And was that the only means of communication?
Yeah.
Just postcards?
Yeah. I think my brother wrote it. My brother had their address.
Okay.
In New York.
So how did you come to New York?
Well, they asked me, do you want to fly or do you want to ship? I said, I don't want to fly.
Okay,
I had a choice.
So the two of you were on a ship?
Yeah.
And they met you?
In New York.
In New York. And where did they take you?
To my aunt's house. I was staying in my aunt's house.
Which was where?
In New York City.
In New York City, okay. And how long did you stay there?
Well, almost till I got married. I stayed with my uncle and aunt, and had other uncle across the street.
Ah, okay.
There were a lot of family.
Okay.
And my brother, he learned how to be an electrician.
And what did you do? Did you finish school?
I went to try to learn English. I went to the local high school in the evening.
Okay.
Because they said the children would be too young. I would be too old for the other kids. But they had evening school, so.
Yes, so you went there and you graduated high school?
George Washington High School.
How did you get to meet your husband?
They lived upstairs, 2 flights up.
He lived there with his family?
He and his parents.
Was he an only child?
Yeah.
So how did you meet him?
Well, they said there's a sexy girl coming for friends.
Who said that?
Some people said sexy girl. I had no shape at all.
I would like to use your wisdom to share with the children of Ithaca and all the other children that might get to see this. What do you say to them?
I don't know. That war is bad.
War is a terrible thing.
Yeah.